Freestyle the news.
I just let it rock. Y'all been trying to tell me how to talk. I just came up through the trenches just to show you how to walk. Trying to push me in the corner when a motherfucker drop. Bitch, I pull out all my quarters when they take me to the mall. Let it off. Let that motherfucker pop. Man, I'm tired watching content of your motherfucking slop. Every time you try explaining, you sound crazy like you grok. I've been running for a minute. Come back, take over the box. Let it rock. Let it rock. Draw a map. Get it blocked. Get it back. But it's off. Here's another fucking loss. Drop the info on your boss. You talk like you just burned a cross. If not, you'll find shit to co-op. It take too long to catch a charge. You know what? Let me know when those files up. I'm missing packets like dial-up. Y'all blowing this like it's Bubba Trump. Motherfuckers wanna gatekeep when they never really get the game deep. So they bend the knee to get the same heat like they losing out on every straight beat. So tell me, what's the line? Say you change and then resign. Say that we bout to primary. You say now it's not the time? All the grifters feel sublime. This is new evil Obama moment. I'm writing, I swear I told you, subscribe to my podcast. Off of my targets, buy all the art with money you charted and then fuck up cause you thought you was smarter. The second half ain't as strong on the message is coming off, sucking dick in the office, hoping he helping to keep their jobs done. Rock, trying to tell me how to talk. I just came up through the trenches just to show you how to walk. Trying to push me in the corner when a motherfucker drop. Bitch, I pull out all my quarters when they take me to the mall. Let it rock, 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 let it rock. Soon. Bro, I've been drinking so much more chai over the last few days. I got the condensed milk in my fridge. I need to do like a chai tutorial at some point so you could all be Indian like me. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching Freestyle the News. If you like what you heard, please knock out that like button like you've been knocking out people in fighting games for the last few years after you bodied the creator of Tekken on one of the biggest stages ever and have continued to stream and interact and promote the beauty of this community even on your own dime until you get nominated for an award and some dipshits decide to say you're not a real fighting gamer or part of the fighting game community and that you're taking somebody else's place for the award when you really have done more for the FGC than they ever have, and they should shut the fuck up with their unwashed ass and then leave a comment on your favorite bar. Let me just reiterate it for everybody who's trying to pull rank and say, oh, I've been part of this community for so long and all this shit like that. I've been part of the fighting game community for so long. I have undeniably built a lot of important shit for this community, okay? Shut the fuck up. You do not get to decide or gatekeep who gets to be in the community. I don't care how many fucking Evos you've won. I don't care how much time you've spent in ranked. Shut the fucking hole in your face. It's an award show. Who gives a shit? Most of the people complaining haven't fucking done anything. You haven't done anything. Like 100%, you have not done a single fucking thing. And you want to chirp out here about like, oh, why are they taking somebody else's spot? Like that way of thinking is why you haven't done anything. It's a community. Nobody takes other people's spot. That's why you don't fucking get anywhere. You want to know how you know nobody takes other people's spot? Everybody who got anywhere in the fighting game community is the only reason I'm still here. There are plenty of people who had spots when I was like, oh fuck, I'm on a downturn, I'm not gonna interact with this community again, and brought me back, and I'm the musical director of EVO. Please shut up forever. You don't have the experience, the clout, or the work to talk about this shit. And very quickly, shout outs to LilyPichu and other people who engage with these games, because it's really wonderful, right? To see people taking these games like seriously and investing into them. They're so rewarding. And speaking of fighting games and how rewarding they can be, our episode of Comeback Mechanic dropped on Friday. It kind of combines my love of politics and fighting games, trying to analyze political strategy and how to kind of like deal with your opponent in different ways and, you know, kind of not crumble under pressure. And there are a lot of lessons you can learn from playing something like fighting games that you can bring into your own life, into your own job, into so many different things. And one of those things that you learn is that people trying to chirp about who's a real gamer and who isn't, fucking suck. You suck. Like on a cellular level, you suck at things. Continue to have a problem with it. I'll continue to not suck. Fuck you. Sorry, I had to get that out of the way. But yeah, other than that, shout out to LilyPichu. Go vote for her for the Streamer Awards. A lot of big, well-known people in the fighting game community are doing that just to show these people up. And honestly, I'll stream Street Fighter this week and we can have a good time. But anyway, look, that's enough of that. Let's get into this breakdown. And holy shit, what a week this has been. It's been an actual blur of big news stories this week, from continued fallout over the Jeffrey Epstein files, leading to a vote to release the Jeffrey Epstein files, where Donald Trump was suddenly like, actually, you know, I'm good. You should do that. You should release them. I'm totally good with it now. To the Russia and Ukraine news, to the climate summit. There's so much going on. But I kind of want to focus on a couple stories at the end of the week that really kind of told us a lot about the political climate. And so we're going to start off by talking about this. Interesting. So in the weeks following the massive election night win for Zohran Mamdani, there's been a lot of movement in and around the political optics of his soon-to-be mayorship, or I was going to say candidacy, but he's not even a candidate anymore. He's just actually the mayor-elect. You know what I mean? As you probably already know, he's chosen a pretty well-experienced guy to be deputy mayor. He's hired people like Lena Khan onto his transition team. It's a big deal, right? He recently announced that he would be keeping Jessica Tisch on, and Jessica Tisch actually accepted. She said yes. But look, to be very real, he's also received some criticism for some perceived softening on some of his responses on major campaign promises on certain issues, as well as getting a little bit of praise on the other side of it for holding ground in some of these interviews about his campaign promises. And to that point, if you're trying to look for what opinions people have on Mamdani right now, depending on where you look on the internet, the response from any particular group to anything he said or done in the last week or so mirrors the best, hey, I told you so, I fucking told you so, they want to wax on eloquent about. It's either, I told you he would be really good at this and hit the ground running and hire great people and he wouldn't be afraid of the political establishment, or I told you that he was a secret liberal all along, promoted by billionaires, and is actually just cosplaying as a socialist and turning his back on the Palestinian cause as a secret Zionist. Or I told you he's actually an evil jihadist communist who eats with his hands and is going to take all of your money and sell off New York and destroy businesses with Lena Khan as he laughs from his ivory one-bedroom apartment or whatever. I also want you to notice that none of those reactions contained Andrew Cuomo would have been better. Says a lot. But look, all that to say, Mamdani at this moment is probably the most widespread, fresh-faced poster boy in left-leaning politics. So everybody immediately has an opinion. It's a very charged environment right now. Bro, you had motherfuckers freaking out that he would be forcing people to learn Arabic numerals in school, or as anybody with a brain would call it, numerals. But look, even with all this attention, the big moment in question on everybody's minds was New York's interaction with Donald Trump, right? How would Mamdani navigate that very public relationship? With all the fear-mongering around Mamdani, with Mamdani's rhetoric against Trump as well, how would he navigate a very aggressive Donald Trump trying to overextend pressure in the wake of the elections that just happened? There was an expectation this would get tense. A lot of pundits were gearing up for that. How intense would this get? I'm sorry, I'm not gonna like overextend. You've probably already seen the footage, and in case you haven't, roll the tape.
Very productive meeting. I think you're going to have hopefully a really great mayor. The better he does, the happier I am. I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually. He said a lot of my voters actually voted for him, and I'm okay with that. He wants to have a safe New York. Ultimately, a safe New York is going to be a great New York.
He didn't mention anything about America.
I expect to be helping him, not hurting him. A big help. Because I want New York City to be great. I think this mayor can do some things that are going to be really great.
Would you feel comfortable living in New York City under a Mamdani administration?
Yeah, I would. I really would. Especially after the meeting. Absolutely. We agree on a lot more than I would have thought. I want him to do a great job, and we'll help him do a great job.
Are you not entertained? As much as everybody has probably already given you an I told you so about a different thing Mamdani has said or done, even the people going, well, I thought he would get along, didn't see this shit coming. To be honest, they're a little bit full of shit because none of them said that before this meeting. We've seen adversarial relationships before between city and state officials and Trump, as well as receptions where everybody's trying to be cordial and trying to just do the job at hand. I can tell you, I have not seen during Trump's time in politics the amount of cordial he's having here with an opposing political star. Again, I've seen him be cordial, but not to this extent. Trump didn't just give him an, oh, we could work together here and we have things in common. He gave him a ringing endorsement, undercutting almost every delivered attack from both right-wing conservative media and center-left pundits alike. And also, this meeting went well in the wake of the House passing a resolution condemning the horrors of socialism. Very keen timing, guys, on which Hakeem Jeffries voted yes, along with 86 other Democrats. And just a very quick note about that. I don't know how many ways you could be Hakeem Jeffries and miscalculate politically like you have here. It's very clear everybody voting on that resolution knew the timing of it and wanted to create a signal that blunted the momentum that Mamdani has, or of the whole like outsider wave of candidates that Mamdani's run has inspired. They wanted that resolution to give them a pivot point away from Mamdani's dominance of the news cycle and Democratic politics after the meeting went kind of whatever. But oops, it went better than anybody could have ever imagined. And don't worry, we will get to Osse. But look, Mamdani left that meeting in an incredibly strong position, with many calling it a political masterclass, successfully positioning himself as a leading voice in the party. I cannot stress this enough. This is without bias. Look, as popular as Zohran Mamdani was going into this, he did not have that kind of undeniable clout in the political arena, right? This meeting going well is ridiculously seismic. It undercuts, once again, all of the arguments from almost the entire Democratic establishment, right? It undercuts everything people have been trying to frame narratives around and shows him as an experienced political force. And this happened quick. Dude, it hasn't even been, it's been a couple weeks, which means the party is ripe for a lot more movement and forward thinking, far ahead of both the midterms and 2028. Bro, he even got Trump to let him call him a fascist.
Are you affirming that you think President Trump is a fascist?
I've spoken about.
That's okay. You can just say yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay. It's easier. It's easier than explaining it. I don't mind.
And FYI, that Trump saying I'm going to run again and all that whole shtick that he was trying to pull.
And I would say that if you read it, it's pretty clear. I'm not allowed to run. It's too bad. I've been stupid. Sir. But we have a lot of great people.
What did I fucking say? You know what? You know what? Just go buy a shirt. Just go buy a shirt and watch Comeback Mechanic. Okay? All right? Now look, while I am surprised at the magnitude of how well this meeting went from a political standpoint, it does make a lot of sense that it did go this well. You got to go back to that fascist question for proof. Now, very quickly, let's take off our partisan hats for a second and understand that even if Trump exhibits fascistic behavior, logically, he probably does not like being called a fascist. It's like your uncle when he says, I'm not a racist. I have a lot of colored friends. Hey, two Polish people walk into a bar. The most unironically like offensive terms, but also, whoa, calling me racist is the real offensive thing. But Donald Trump runs his political career and his career in general by the Roy Cohn playbook. We've said it over and over and over again. Roy Cohn was his mentor. The playbook for dominating the political and media landscape of power was Roy Cohn's like signature lesson that he taught Trump. And I'm going to be very blunt with you when it comes to understanding culture and how to move the needle across media. There are very few people right now who understand the science of it at an expert level, right? Ask anybody who works in social media. The apparatus around them doesn't know what the fuck they're doing, and they're having to pick up the pieces a lot of the time. The political industry, when it comes to understanding new media and the culture that we're living in right now, has been stagnant on evolving for fucking years. That's why candidates like Donald Trump didn't have to attend a single fucking primary debate to win the candidacy. There are a lot of political consultants who have massive blind spots in this media ecosystem, but their infrastructure is great. It's very, very disciplined, and they can outspend and gatekeep everybody else. I'm not saying that they don't have any skills. They're very skilled at infrastructure and logistics and fundraising. They're not like dumb. They just don't want to take the time to learn this very essential thing of the tides changing. This is a very huge problem in corporate America too, by the way. Don't believe me? Hey, anybody who works at Netflix, go right now and ask to exclusively use Helvetica font in all of your social media videos for a week. Let me know how many fucking meetings that takes to happen before it doesn't. The reason why Mamdani and Trump get along so much is they both understand this game better than everybody else around them. They understand how to disrupt this ecosystem and how to engage with it effectively, and the rules for how to win a media fight in general. So naturally, even if they are adversarial, they actually probably share a lot in common because they're surrounded by a consultant class that fucking sucks at their job that they always have to pick up after. Bernie Sanders and AOC feel the same way, FYI. There's plenty of Republicans on that trip, plenty of Democrats. There are people who are not in either of those parties, who have run for office, who have like positions across the country, who feel that way. There were multiple questions in this presser that were designed to knock both of these men off of their cordial framing, which is normal, right? But Trump readily gave Mamdani cover for that. That was what the fascist question was.
Why did you fly here? Aren't trains greener?
I'll use every form of transit, and I want to make sure that they're all affordable in New York City, and that's why making buses fast and free is a centerpiece of our campaign.
There is a bus that goes.
Well, but I know, but it'd be fluid. That's a lot quicker too. You know, I mean, he's working very hard. For him to be, that's a very long drive. I'll stick up for you. You know, the plane takes you 30 minutes and driving takes you a long time.
And Mamdani also kept that environment cordial with the framing of the FDR picture and all that.
One thing I also appreciated is in our meeting to appreciate a portrait of FDR and the incredible work that was done with the New Deal, and also in thinking about what it can look like when the federal government and New York City government work together to deliver on affordability. It can be transformative.
That doesn't mean they love each other, or any part of me is saying like, oh, it's great, Trump is being such a nice guy. But this dance is important to observe. In the political world built by buttoned up, risk-averse bullshit, Bernie Sanders and maybe a handful of other people are co-workers, and everybody else is just kind of a clock puncher. And if it hasn't been said over and over and over again, it's something that the Democratic Party at large should learn from. And they're going to either the easy way or the hard way. Let me know what you think in the comments. Moving on, I want to talk a little bit about fact-checking. Look, I've said this before, but over the last few months, verifying stories has become way harder. Almost every single headline is baked in with spin designed to scare you, push a narrative, or twist the facts just enough to make the other side look bad. It has become exhausting in the sea of noise that we live in right now, and it's getting harder to figure out exactly what's real and what's exaggerated. But that is why I am a proud user of Ground News, the sponsor of today's show. I can't tell you how excited I am that Ground News is sponsoring today's show. I have wanted to work with them for a while, and for good reason. Ground News is an incredible tool for verifying news accuracy and seeing how stories are covered across the political spectrum. It aggregates coverage from over 50,000 news sources and literally shows you which side is covering what, and more importantly, who's ignoring what. Let me show you how it works. Take this story about a judge temporarily blocking the Trump administration from sending the National Guard into Chicago. Over 300 sources are covering it, either high or mostly high factuality. 33% of those sources are from the left, just 12% are from the right, and they cover it differently. You can see left-leaning outlets like Raw Story framed the decision as a striking rebuke to the Trump administration. Meanwhile, you have right-leaning outlets like the Washington Examiner calling it a partial block or a minor setback. Same event, two completely different takeaways. You know how spin works. But look, insights like these that look into the material differences in how these stories are covered are the best way I've found to cut through the spin, check your own bias, and actually see the full picture. And in a time where polarization is being weaponized daily, that is a game changer. They even have this great feature called a blind spot feed, which shows you stories covered by one side but ignored by the other. It breaks you out of your echo chamber in real time. Look, I've been using Ground News for a while now. I genuinely love it. And if you want to try it for yourself, you can go right now to groundnews.com/Zed or scan the QR code on screen and you can get 40% off an unlimited Vantage plan today. Not only does this help support my cool rap news channel, it is also a really strong, healthy tool to keep up with the news without drowning in the noise or feeling overwhelmed. I cannot recommend it enough. So if you are tired of media narratives, if you want something solid to stay informed throughout all the noise, and you want to support the show, go right now to groundnews.com/Zed and see the whole picture today. All right. Back to the breakdown. And very quickly, before it gets away from us, let's talk about Osse, because that is a story Mamdani has been receiving a lot of criticism over. If you don't know who Osse is, he's a member of the New York City Council. He represents the 36th district. He's seen as both one of Mamdani's early supporters as well as the blueprint from which Mamdani drew a lot of his campaign kind of framework. She's very, very adept at social media. He's a really, really smart guy. Genuinely, I'll tell you from a personal standpoint, I like him a lot. I think he's cool. Well, after Hakeem Jeffries' dog shit political flailing over the last 3 months, as well as his bare bones last minute endorsement, Osse recently filed paperwork to primary Jeffries, which with the amount of momentum against Hakeem Jeffries' political decisions seems like a pretty strong choice to make, and a desired one for a lot of people who are frustrated with him. However, a lot of progressive leaders, as well as Mamdani himself, have come out against primarying Hakeem Jeffries, telling Osse that now is not the time to be primarying him. And they've all kind of used that same language, like now is not the time to be doing this, as they've said this, not really elaborating too much further unless like really pressed. This has sparked, understandably, a lot of backlash, as well as a lot of support, you know, a lot of nuanced discussion on a lot of different schools of thought, and people have been constantly asking me about it. And look, I want to be fair and not ignore problems, right? Just because I like or dislike a candidate. I just want to be also clear about my bias here, right? I do like Mamdani. Oh my God, shocker. I do have a bias and really do think he's a cool dude, right? But also, he's a politician. And as much as I like him, I don't trust politicians. There are lines about things that he said that I have in my head that if they are crossed, I'm gonna call him out for and try to call attention to. That being said, before I jump into this, I also need to call out that all of the reactions around this story are doing the same fucking thing I was talking about earlier, trying to build to an I told you so, as if all of these people just massively consuming YouTube and Reddit are secretly political Vegapunks with giant brains that can predict all movement and everything ever. And it's also not lost on me that one of my catchphrases, I have a catchphrase that's crazy, is what did I fucking say? Just to clarify that, I'm not trying to be like, I told you so. There's a little bit of that in there. I'm not going to act like there's not, but it's not supposed to be that I'm infallible and you are not. It's me saying I'm calling out infallible doomerism, right? And people who go 10 toes down about their political opinion like everybody else is stupid. The reason I got that catchphrase, I wasn't even trying to make that a thing, is because I predicted a lot of shit, and a lot of shit that I've said has happened. Like, not like slightly happened, has exactly happened. But also, I could be fucking wrong a lot. I'm a person, not an oracle from Aladdin and the 40 Thieves. That is a very deep cut reference, and I'm not changing it. See, I'm very fallible. I have a Sonic the Hedgehog keychain hanging from my microphone. If I was impervious to fucking up, I would probably choose a better role model. Such a bad fucking game. But look, let's all check our like I'm perfect at all of this at the door and just talk about this situation. And I'm of two minds here, right? Number one, I think Hakeem Jeffries should be primary. With all the fucking mistakes he's made this year and last year, although it's risky, with enough push, it would send a message of dissatisfaction with his position, no doubt. And I really do like Osse. He really could put some pressure on Jeffries if he ran this the right way, with the right balance of momentum and messaging. I think he can make a dent. And it is absolutely frustrating for me to see Mamdani just dismiss it with that language. But also, remember, two minds. Strategically, there are a lot of problems. Oh, okay. So first, if you primary Jeffries and lose, I mean, that's the most obvious, worry. And obviously that looks bad in the press and could have a lot of political optics consequences that establishment politicians would seize on to clamp down on accomplishments and, wins from emerging progressive candidates. Specifically because Jeffries has a huge political machine around him, right? And he would be one of the most funded if he were to be primaried right now. But that's the most obvious. What if Osse won? Here's the issue. The immediate aftermath would 100% clearly be very big, right? This guy ousted the Democratic minority leader. There'd be a bunch of questions about, what's the Democratic Party doing? But Osse right then wouldn't be chosen as a minority or majority leader. He would probably be directly rebuked by the still pretty large, establishment wing of the party. But even with the positive framing of the changing Democratic Party and how this is the new school coming in, the media would then seek to solidify what this current anti-establishment movement was, right? They would look for then fault lines to go down now there's a downward trend. Now the crackback is happening. Now they're gonna get hit. That's what just tends to happen in these kind of media stories. That's what happened to intersectional politics, trans rights. It's not a nefarious, deliberate thing as much as it is a if it bleeds, it leads kind of thing. You're always looking for a but actually story to kind of poke out. But look, that's not a certainty. It may not happen. You could actually probably fight that. It would take a lot of resources to kind of push through that, kind of like but actually kind of story cycle, right? And keep this momentum going and overtake the spin against it, right? Because if you win another seat, your ship gets bigger and it takes more work to turn the whole ship in unison. But then how do you do that? Is that an inevitability? So that means just no matter what, if you get bigger, we're going to stop getting big because we're worried about turning the ship. Well, that's where the third option comes in. Third option is don't run. Support the races you currently have going into the midterm, because there are a lot of progressive and leftist and emerging candidates coming out. But if you want more, then primary more vulnerable, less funded and entrenched candidates than Jeffries, and use the current resources you have with things like the DSA and everything around it to build tangible accomplishments in New York to call back to those races you are running. There is substantially more upside, headline, and optic success in that strategy, and also a lot more of an opportunity to primary somebody like Jeffries. Also, you don't have to necessarily just primary Hakeem Jeffries. You can primary the apparatus that's around him, right? There are much more vulnerable Democrats around his apparatus that holds up the establishment wing. You could also long-term probably oust him from Democratic leadership without having to primary him. And also, Osse, he could be the one to do it. Let's be pretty clear about the conspiracy, Democratic donors called Zohran and told him to stop. I don't buy that for multiple reasons. And again, I'm very wary of that too, right? Because I don't trust politicians, right? The reason I don't buy that is because there are a lot of Democratic donors. Many of them don't fucking like Hakeem Jeffries. It is not hard, if you're in the political apparatus, to raise money against Hakeem Jeffries, all right? Or to not like Jeffries publicly and still get money from other people who don't like him publicly, okay? It just strategically attacking him and trying to oust him with the campaign infrastructure and everything he has just doesn't match up right now. When you're taking on the establishment or big money and corporations and all that kind of stuff, you have to understand you can't just think of what you want to do because it will hurt, like action and reaction, right? You have to think of 2 or 3 moves ahead. Action, reaction, reaction to that reaction, your reaction to that. Like you have to think way ahead. It's like a card game. If you swing with all of your attackers, the next turn, you're probably gonna die because you don't have enough counter and you're vulnerable, right? Sometimes you have to wait a turn and just build your board, deal with the swings before you go for lethal. I have a podcast. You see what I did there? You see what I did there? It's really good. And that's not me making it up. That's like a real strategy. And not only that, in a lot of things, in music too. So my thoughts essentially on this are, I don't think this is some massive evil Obama moment from Zohran Mamdani. To be honest, I think there are other things people should be way more concerned and critical about, right? Like his shaky specificity on the CFPB and the implementation of all that with Tish. Like, I have heard less about that than I've heard about Osse. But I also think Hakeem Jeffries should be primary, right? I really do believe he should be. I just see what the strategy is. And it's not a bad strategy. It's actually, I think, the smarter move in general. That's my emotion and my logic are at 2 different odds. Does that make sense? All right, let me know what you think in the comments. All right, one last thing before we go. Let's talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene. What a fucking month this lady's been having. After a pretty intense feud with Donald Trump over the last few weeks, Marjorie Taylor Greene has announced her resignation from Congress effective January 5th, 2026. Holy shit. She wrote this like 4-page letter and released a video. I'm not going to read the whole letter, but the last page I think has a lot of things. She wrote, "I believe in term limits and do not think Congress should be a lifelong career or an assisted living facility." God damn! What the fuck, Marjorie? Just throwing shots. "My only goal and desire has been to hold the Republican Party accountable for the promises it makes to the American people and put America first. And I have fought against Democrats' damaging policies like the Green New Deal, wide open, deadly, unsafe border policy." Okay, Marge. "And the trans agenda on children and against women." Let's be clear. I'm not trying to rehabilitate this woman's image. Like just because I team up with Frieza doesn't mean I'm like, oh, he's a good guy now. Nah, fucker. With that has brought years of nonstop, never-ending personal attacks, death threats, lawfare, ridiculous slander, and lies about me that most people could never withstand even for a day. If I'm cast aside by MAGA Inc. and replaced by neocons, big pharma, big tech, etc., she just names a bunch of things here, and they leave the donor class that can't even relate to real Americans, then many common Americans have been cast aside and replaced as well. There's no plan to save the world or insane 4D chess game being played. When the common American people finally realize and understand that the political industrial complex of both parties is ripping this country apart and not one elected leader like me is able to stop Washington's machine from gradually destroying our country, and that the reality is that they, common Americans, the people, possess the real power over Washington, then I'll be here by their side to rebuild it. Why can't you just say that part instead of all of the fucking weird culture war talking point? Look, when I hear people talk about corporations in America, I feel like they don't really have experience at how the specificities of corporations work. Like they see the big kind of like selfish, shitty decisions from corporations, but they don't see like the minutia, right? And like I said before, the minutia and the specific like little like day-to-day rigidity of corporations is all over political parties, which means all of the institutional guardrails that prevent you from making any real change happen are there. But so are all of the vulnerabilities of keeping the status quo against a bursting dam. I'm not gonna act like Marjorie Taylor Greene is having some like enlightened, like bipartisan moment that she suddenly, like, oh my God, I've realized everything, right? But it's not rehabilitating her image to say that she is somebody who truly believed in the soup she was swimming until she saw the limitations of what her environment had brought her and how things were actually built. It's really fun to imagine your dream job until you have your dream job and realize there's a lot of bullshit involved in it. So when I see politicians like Jamie Raskin go, you know what? I think there's enough room in our big tent for Marjorie Taylor Greene. Did you read the fucking message, dude? If you want to drive a lot of people out of the tent, sure. But also, I don't even think she wants to be in the fucking tent, my guy. She thinks all of the tents that you have at this tent facility kind of suck. For all of her culture war bullshit, she is right about the mechanisms that end up controlling Washington, right? And that parties are actually beholden to people, but are just really, really good at spin. And that you need to understand the machine in order to beat it. And understanding how the machine works doesn't just mean, oh, this is how the Democratic and Republican parties work. They're both the same sides of the coin, da da da. No, it's understanding how BreadTube works, right? Or how leftist or right-wing podcasts work, or how centrist media and traditional ideas of media work, how the Tea Party movement lost their momentum and compromised their goals and morphed into something else, right? What conspiracy theories each side has. You have to understand how Occam's razor has shifted political terms and affiliations over the last 10 years, right? Central, progressive, leftist, and Marxist and socialist all mean different things. Conservative, neocon, MAGA all mean different things now than they did like 4 years ago. You have to know the difference between TikTok firms in Washington and TikTok firms in Hollywood, right? And which ones are successful and which ones are the TikTok firms in Washington. And you have to know who is there in elected office as an act of service versus an act of accomplishment. All of that is incredibly important. And I think, if anything, Marjorie Taylor Greene should serve as an example that the common frustrations of the system do transcend party. But the rest of the message seems like a fucking stump speech written by somebody watching every pundit they can. I do think people can change. I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene has really changed in the ways you would want somebody to change to be 100% more decent, but at least she understands the toxicity of what she's contributed to. And don't get me wrong, this is a seismic political and symbolic event, and I'm sure it says a lot about her constituencies and the constituencies of the MAGA movement. But I think one thing is for certain. I think the establishment in Washington has a big red arrow pointed at their jobs and their fucking tent facility. Why? Fucking hate tents. I'm not going camping. Let me know what you think in the comments. And that's our show. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe. Please go watch Comeback Mechanic. Please also watch Go for Lethal. We're really jumping in on the content these days. And we'll be back next week with another show. Anyway, my name is Tabani. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see y'all soon. Let's go.